That's
Oh, he
have you seen the whole trend of people being the girls ask their boyfriends, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And
Yes.
they're like, I don't know, like a couple times a week, maybe. But what you just mentioned, like
Yeah,
the
all the
Romans
time.
conquered all of the Germanic Celtic people, all of Gaul, which was Eastern Europe. They conquered, or Western Europe. They conquered all of that, and those were those people. I don't know how long that campaign went on for, but they were just. It's some of the things the Romans did are so wild. They just went to the other side of the world with tens of thousands of men. They bring like 80,000 soldiers and go conquer a continent and then build a road back and start taxing and shipping the gold home. And they just kept doing that until they owned so much of the world. It was, So yeah, I guess I think about the most Roman Empire a couple times a week.
Yeah, at least a couple times a week. It's the coolest empire ever.
I should think about Rome more because I don't know anything.
Yeah, Rome is so cool. 117. That's the peak of their expansion, I believe, right?
Like obviously, I'm the least knowledgeable geography wise, but I know that's fucking England up there in the top left.
Yeah. Looks like they've got Babylon and Britain. That's a big span. And unlike that nonsense where they're like, look at Genghis Khan's empire. It's like, you mean just a trail with burnt villages and no infrastructure and no production and a bunch
this
of
was this was a machine though.
This was an empire. Like
every one of those provinces is shipping gold by road and ship back to Rome. It's a machine. It was, and it's. I really like anything about Rome. I wish there was it's a shame that that TV show failed.
They should do more Rome historical shows. Those would slay.
There's a really good one on Netflix. There's a really good like Rome multi-episode, like the history of Rome. It's Spartacus. Very good. Spartacus is good. I mean, it is fairly historical.
Wait. You said Spartacus was good. Did you watch it to the end?
I watched one.
Disregard that.
Look, again, I'm good at reading books by covers. I could tell that I didn't want to watch that new guy, so I watched the first season, then the second season, which is like the prequel. And I disengaged because I knew it wasn't going to be good from there. I could tell. I could see it.
Yeah,
the writing was on the wall. The man died.
It ended really bad. Like, and the fight scenes that I enjoyed the fight scenes in the beginning. It was a different way to do videography around a fight. By the end, they just took it. It was like, all right, there's trouble. And they all start moving in slow-mo with blood splatters on the screen. And it got super bad. Yeah,
it's but for anyone who wants to see like another titty period piece, my goodness, seasons 1 and 2 of Spartacus, you'll never see as much cock and titty in a regular TV show ever. I think Showtime made it. Real good show, but
it's got Cinemax vibes.
Yeah, it's got I'm spacing out her name, but fucking Xena is in their top.
Lucy Lawless, am I right?
Lucy Lawless, New Zealand actress. Yeah,
man, that sucks. He died at 39 from cancer.
I thought it was one of the lymphomas,
non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Yeah, that's the bad one, I guess.
I mean, they're both probably bad.
You don't even mind the other kind. You're just like, do I have that too?
Do I have that too? Oh, rats! I've got lymphoma.
Not again.
It's gonna ruin my weekend.
I have seasonal lymphoma.
Seasonal lymphoma.
It really flares up around the springtime.
Seasonal affective lymphoma. I get in a bad mood and die.
No, that guy was pretty cool. I don't recall his name. I do remember though that at the height of that show, I was Spartacus is a great show, and then he was in a Freddie W video, which is really cool. And then he died like soon thereafter. It felt like that movie will make you cry your ass off, and it reminded me of the movie I was going to say earlier that really makes me cry. Like the moment in Saving Private Ryan when at the end the old Private Ryan is at Tom Hanks's grave, and he's like, "I hope I did enough. I tried. I hope I lived a good enough life.
I was worth it
to earn this. I hope I was worth it." Because at the end, Tom Hanks is like, "Earn this, earn this," and when he just breaks down on his knees and he's crying, and I'm like, God damn, I don't know if it was enough. I don't know if it was, but God
how
damn
can it be? Like 5 people died. How can one person be worth
more
5?
than 5? Like the whole unit, right? Like not to mention all the Nazis they killed to the whole thing. That's a really emotional moment when he gets on, he's on his knees as an old man. He's like, I hope it was enough. Oh man, I cry at the beginning of the movie when he first walks to that grave and falls to his knees with the flowers, and his family rushes to him and put their hands on his shoulder. Dude, super emotional.
When I saw that movie, Saving Private Ryan, and the opening scene, there's this is kind of like amphibious boat that drives just onto the shoreline, drops a door, and the soldiers all come running out. Well, the Germans were ready for them, and they mowed down, I'll make up a number, like 24 American soldiers right away. Right? They're like you're playing zombies. They're just all sort of there in a pack. All of them die, and I'd never seen that before, right? Previously, all my war movies, Americans, did curiously well, right? And they made it against all odds through all these problems, and I was just like, it struck me as the more realistic thing. If you're taking a beach like that, I don't know how you're the first guy on the beach and survive. Like,
no, you don't. Like if you're. Like, that's something that they knew going into it, is like, if you're on that first, unit transportation, aquatic vehicle, whatever the hell it is, and you're on one of those first lines and you're that dude with the rifle about to get out, like, that as soon as that door drops, some German dude has a fucking machine gun, not aimed maybe in your direction, absolutely aimed right at you. And the second he can, he's going to empty into that. Like, there were whole units of people who didn't even get onto the beach because they'd open the door and they'd get blasted and they'd either drown or they'd just be caught in a trap, basically. Where it was horrific.
Yeah.
It's almost like that first couple thousand guys are just there to make the guns get hot. To overheat German machine guns, to make them wear down their ammo, to blow holes in the defenses. Like, it's a shitty way of looking at war, and that's not how we do it these days. But those first guys in those landers, like, you had to know, like, your odds are 1 in 25 of living, 1 in 35 of living, something crazy like that. If you're that first amphibious craft, doors locked down, and that MG-42 opens up, and it ain't just one. It's that all those concrete bunkers up there full of these crack soldiers who know that what they're fighting for isn't Nazism or Hitler. It's their very lives, because there's 250,000 Americans out there in those boats, and they're going to keep coming. It's not like if we kill the first 100, they're going to turn around. Like, they're just coming, and they're going to keep coming.
I asked my boss about it at the time. Now, my boss at this company, he had just left the Marines. And he was the kind of guy who would know. Like, he was an officer, and he had gone to the Naval Academy to learn, in the Naval Postgraduate School. And I'm like, why didn't they just bomb it? Right? They bomb it, turn the whole damn beach gray, with just bombs. And he's like, they did. Yeah. They softened it up the best they could. Taking a beach is really hard.
Like
they were shooting with artillery fire and all kind, or the ship fire. But part of it, of course, is they didn't want to give themselves away, so they can't bombard it for weeks leading up to it, like we did with the Japanese islands. Like, there was a lot of those Japanese islands where they just bombed that island for like a week leading up to the invasion. To, like, there's not a fucking palm tree standing and shit, and that's why we always hear about the Japs down in those tunnels and bunkers and stuff, because we would fucking bomb those islands down to nothing, and they'd have to be hiding under a mountain to survive the onslaught. But with Normandy Beach, there was a whole deception making them not know we're going to hit Normandy Beach. Have you ever seen the movie Zero Dark 30? It's about when they got Osama bin Laden.
I have heard of it.
Not sure.
I highly recommend it. It's a fairly accurate telling true story shit of how they got Osama bin Laden. And it was a woman at the CIA who was mad about some of her friends getting blown up, who made it her job to like track down and find Osama bin Laden. It was her the whole way. And so it tells her story for a while. But then you've also got, I think Chris Pratt is on the SEAL team, like SEAL Team 6. And then there's several other characters like scattered along, like in the military and the CIA and everybody who like made this thing happen. And when they actually go on the raid and go in, it is really fucking cool. I just listened to a podcast though. It was the guy who killed Osama bin Laden. Like, he's the podcast guest, and he's telling the story of killing Osama bin Laden, and it was fascinating. And it's all the shit that happened in the movie, but it's him talking about it and being as graphic as you want, because his interviewer is also like a special forces guy. He's like, "Where'd you shoot him?" I shot him 3 times in the face. He's like, if you saw that, if you ever seen photos of it, those are my hands holding his head together for the picture. Those are my hands wearing the gloves. He's like, blew his head apart. Like, oh yeah.
Why'd you throw him in the ocean? Oh, because we lied about that.
Because they didn't want to like have like a mecca for terrorists to like visit and like put roses on Osama bin Laden's grave. Like you ever go to that place where John Lennon
airdrop him into an enemy's land? Now they've got a problem.
Osama bin Laden Barack Obama thought it was a great idea. Those guys' names are similar.
Barack Osama wanted to do that.
But
middle name's Hussein too.
That was fascinating.
That's funny.
Talking about the crazy part. He said that the woman at the CIA told them, she's like, that his last line of defense will be his son, I think Khalid, something like that. His last line of defense is Khalid. I don't know what it looks like inside the house, but there will be a staircase, and Osama will be on the 2nd floor, and Khalid will be on that staircase, and he will be armed. If you get past him, you get a shot at Osama bin Laden. And so when they get to the staircase, one of the guys yells, "Khalid, come here," in Pakistani. And Khalid pokes his head out, and they blew it off. And then they walked in and killed Osama bin Laden.
Heavy sleeper, that guy.
He was Osama was like up, like trying to get. They always say he was trying to get a rifle. Osama was staggering around with his wife in front of him, and they shot him twice in the face, and then once he hit the ground. That's what happened. They went to kill Osama bin Laden, not to capture him. They killed him.
What about his wife? Just let her.
She got shot. I don't know if she died. She took a bullet in that thing. I believe. I'm like, although I know what they shoot 77 grain hollow points. He said, and my goodness, that would make a mess even if it winged you. Like if you got shot in the arm with that in a room, like you could very easily bleed out.
That's a 5.56, a heavy one.
It's a but the hollow point part that it's it's gonna like kind of it's really coming apart when it hits you and making.
I don't think I've ever
hole.
Fired a 5.56 hollow point. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, there's hunting rounds is where we get them, but like I don't think I'm like 99.9% sure the regular military doesn't shoot hollow points because they all shoot FMJ or green tip or something, but I guess those special forces guys just don't give a. They shoot hollow points.
I've always heard they can have whatever they want.
Yeah, but there's rules that, although on this raid in particular, like they had snuck into Pakistan. You know where that house was like, less than a mile. I think a kilometer away from where Osama bin Laden's house is like their West Point, like the Pakistani West Point. Like he's not in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. He's right down the street from their military, like professional military training grounds, like where their top brass is. They got him in their back pocket right there, keeping him safe.
I wonder if you could look at that house on Google Maps, like satellite view, and check out the compound.
Like a street view.
There's
lots of Google cars driving through there. Google cars have been there, but
I'm sure there's imagery of the place. I don't know if you can like see like updated, like who knows what's going on.
I kind of want to drag around the city and see.
Yeah, like see the neighborhood.
Yeah.
No, those stories are wild because these guys are fucking killers, all of them. He's like, I'm not going to tell you the 200 different stories of we went through the door, we shot the bad guys in the face, because we did that every fucking day. Let me tell you some stories when shit went wild. And I'm like, fucking hell yeah, tell me about when it went wild. and he's got stories about having like bounding down the street, wounded while his partner's dead behind him. He's got a saw busting off 200 round bursts at like multiple assailants down the street in Iraq, like all sorts of really crazy James Bond shit.
Dude, I wish I could tell a couple of the stories my close friend Marine buddy told me when he was in action over there, but there are a couple of them where he was like, we're all chatting and he's like, because he listens, shout out, and he's like, Taylor, this next one you cannot say on the show. Like, you can't say this one because I don't want to implicate anything or say anything about this or that. And I'll be like, all right, I'm a professional, consummate professional. You can tell me. Mm-hmm. And then he does. And I'm like, God, yeah, I want to tell it. I want to tell it so bad. It's such a good story. People would love it. But gotta respect that. Maybe someday.
I have the guy I did the tat with, that long motorcycle rider around the country. He was a army guy, and he told stories. The thing is, he wasn't an elite army guy or like anything good, and all his stories are like hilariously like stupid. Like, he's like, we're walking, there's enemy somewhere out there. We don't know where they are. We know that eventually we'll get close enough to them and there'll be a problem. And they're supposed to have a buddy system. I think it was him who lost his buddy. Like his buddy's gone. And now we're all like, what the fuck? Oh no. Fucking my friend is fouled up. He lost the buddy that they're supposed to be accountable for each other. Turns out this dude fell in like a latrine hole. And now he's covered and smells like poo. But they didn't let him like stop. So now he and his buddy gets it on him, and like this is his story. There's no hero like rock star shit in any of this.
Yeah,
just smells bad.
Just a comedy of errors in the army, apparently.
Well, honestly, I'll find a link for this, and like I'll find a good one to try to whet your appetite and get you on board with this thing. Because
like that.
This guy I was just talking about, it was a comedy of errors for him. Like. He's like, the Iraqis knew not to fuck with the bearded guys and the AMRAPs or whatever. I had some acronym for some big armor truck. And they knew not to fuck with the guys in the Bradleys. But here we were, 2 CIA guys. I mean, we were disguised, but we're just in a sedan. And he talks about getting ambushed. They shot him with an RPG. The car crashes, loses power because and there they are. They jump out of the car. His buddy's immediately killed. And then he's running from people for so long. He's like, and he's been radioing the whole time for backup, giving him updating positions. And then he looks down and there's a bullet in his radio. He hasn't had a radio the whole fucking time. Nobody knows what's going on. He gets up. It sounded like some Tarkov shit. He got on top of a roof. He's like, I get to the fucking roof, and it's just a flat top roof. There's no little knee wall to get behind or anything. It's not like in the movies, but I'm returning fire from up there. And then I decide, I'm going to run back and I'm going to jump down one floor to the landing. And then from there down to the ground. Well, that landing only existed on the front side of the building. So when I jumped, I just fell 2 stories into the darkness onto the ground. So there I am laying on the floor, quite stunned and a lot of pain. And here come 2 Hajis around the corner. I'm like, this is great. I love it. They're great stories. And they're always so like weird about when they kill somebody. I wish they'd just be like, so then I killed the guy on the left. Then I killed the guy on the right. They're just like, they use euphemisms and they sort
neutralize,
nod. It's like not even that. They won't even. They'll be like, they were sitting in traffic, armored car. They're in an armored car, like he said, 7 inches of bulletproof glass or something. Guy pulls up next to him in a car. In the back passenger seat, a guy comes out with an AK, points it right at his window, point blank, dumps all 30 rounds. He's like, he chews halfway through this fucking glass. And I'd like to say that I was brave. And I like reacted or said something like, let's get him. But I actually went, it's like, what am I putting my hands up for? Like, I'm going to stop the bullets. he's like, the thing was, though, they took off after he dumped his mag, but we're in heavy Baghdad traffic. He made it maybe 90 feet. And then they got to stop. And this real awkward kind of moment happens because they had 1 AK and 1 magazine. So I got out, and it's just, well, let's just say that was the end of them. And I'm like, no, let's not just say that. Tell me what you did to them, bro. Like I'm here for this. So I really like those special forces guys talking about, special forces raids, because we did so much crazy shit that wasn't in the news. They're talking about countries I didn't know we did wars in. I didn't know we had a war in Yemen and Libya in the early 2000s. We were just all over the fucking world smoking people, apparently.
Probably are now.
Yeah, Yemen's going to kick off
forces
again.
in Israel right now, or Ukraine.
I hope. I definitely in 100% Ukraine.
Like, we can't get caught, right? Like, there can't be Americans there. That'll be a big deal.
I bet the Americans that are there, if they are caught, won't register as Americans to whoever caught them. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I considered that too. Might work. I don't know.
I don't know anything that you don't. I guess they're right. But
I think you said it right.
Yeah, but I doubt we have anybody in Israel because we're so weird about that anyway. If anything, we've probably got some like people back on like whatever the green zone is, like I don't know, maybe there to help in some way.
I went the other way. I thought we were more likely to be in Israel because we're closer allies, I think. And what's Palestine going to do? Like, we don't want Russia to get into a hot war with America. but the PLO, who gives a fuck if they get into a hot war?
It's not really them.
They don't want to lose. They don't want to lose Americans in that.
Israel isn't like principally concerned with Hamas as far as a competitor in the region. It's Hezbollah, and so that's why they're gonna. I think it's likely that they continue to do a real invasion of Lebanon at some point in the future, because that's where. Well, they're already bombing Lebanon because they're saying they're taking out Hezbollah sites. And then the Hezbollah alliance between those guys in Lebanon and in Iran, where kind of the meat of the power of Hezbollah comes from. I think it's a bit more risky than a lot of us realize over there.
No, I think it is. One of those CIA guys, they asked him how World War III began. They asked him a question like that. He said that he's like, I think it already started. I think it started when Russia invaded Ukraine. That was the beginning of World War III. And we're slowly, and the forces are all coalescing now with the United States and Canada and Germany. And this time very, very seemingly Poland, like really beefing up, pulling together. That's what happened to the first manned spacewalk. It was these two cosmonauts. He goes out. And of course, and it's live on Russian television or Soviet television. Everybody's watching. Everybody's fucking, yes, we've won again. And then the guy realizes that because of the pressure differential, his suit has inflated, and he can now he can't get back into the capsule. So they cut the feed. They just cut the fucking feed, and they play like
what feed?
The feed.
Oh,
please enjoy video of bears playing hockey.
They actually played like Mozart's Last Repose or something like that. It's a really sad, it's like the end of a sad movie music.
So Russian.
Did those guys die?
Well, it's kind of a story. So he's out there floating around, and the other guy's inside and finally he realizes he's got a pressure valve. So he releases the pressure valve, causes extreme pressure sickness though, because he releases a little bit too much pressure, gets himself back in, and they go to close the hatch. And don't think of like a modern spacecraft, which are still we're not a Star Trek level. They're in like a capsule, right?
Like a submarine in space.
So there's no airlock per se. They have to put their suits on, and then they just open a door right next to them, and then one of them can go out. The other one is in zero oxygen as well while he's watching his buddy float around out there. So buddy finally gets in. There's close the door, and the door's it won't latch. It's fucking Russian door.
Oh no.
It goes on for a while. Well, they're slamming the door, and because they're in zero gravity, that's creating force. It's pushing the craft every time he jerks the door and impacts the craft with its own door. They do get the door shut, but then they realize now we're tumbling. So now they're tumbling, and they're like, we got to get back to fucking Earth. So they bring the thing to re-entry. They land I'm going to get this wrong, but let's just say 3,000 kilometers from where they're supposed to be in Siberia during bear and wolf mating season. And I don't think they had a firearm. I think this was the incident that caused them to go, we really need the gun for the guys. They're landing up. It's no good. They found him after like 30 hours or something like that. All safe and sound. Soviet heroes. They made it. But like 8 things went wrong that should have
That's a way more interesting story than Apollo 13.
It's pretty close. I don't know. They made it back with they really MacGyvered their way back to the planet.
I just want to see a 20-minute scene of them trying to close the door.
Yeah, you'll never see it. They were playing Mozart.
They made
if they were to redo it and make a movie, he's saying, 20 minutes of them slamming doors.
Yeah, Apollo 13 was a great movie. Those guys traveled 250,000 miles in a MacGyvered ass, if you can even call it, spacecraft. Yeah, that's
I'm sure it was real hard surviving that soundstage in Burbank.
You're not one of those guys, are you?
No,
I'm not. Good. I think that they definitely faked some things, some of the footage that they put out there. That's kind of a known thing.
How do you go from you're not one of those guys, are you? But seriously, they faked a lot of shit.
Well, they did. It's plain to see. It's plain to see that they faked some of the footage that they have of a spacewalk in particular. Like it's clearly, obviously fake, and everybody is kind of like, yeah, that's reused footage. It's like, well, that's not what you said when you broadcast it. You said this is our astronauts live spacewalking.
Which clip was this? I'm not familiar with this.
I would have to go down a Wikipedia.
It was the one with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock. Turns out that one was totally fake.
You can see
it looked real.
Stanley Kubrick's belly in the background.
Is that the giant baby from 2001?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
He's just in the background shaking the shit out of Shelley Long. Be afraid, Jack's coming.
The more I think about the space race, I think it might have been Woody, you said this a while back. Like, we totally moved the goalposts on the Soviets. Where like they made it into space with Yuri Gagarin or whatever, then they did the orbit or whatever, and we're like, nah, that was actually never the deal. It was actually the moon.
Right, we just lost
the moon
like
the whole time.
Yeah, like first they make it to space, then they make it around the entire planet, then they break some sort of speed record, then they go longer duration, then we get to the moon.
First monkey in space,
all
first
those
satellite.
things first, and then we're the first people on the moon, and we're like, ha, that was the race the whole time.
Yeah.
Scoreboard!
And we totally screwed them because they're like, well, but you took all of the Nazi geniuses. If you give us 5 of your 10 Nazi geniuses, then we'll call it fair. No, we're keeping all the Nazi geniuses. And then we're going to slap an American flag on it.
Like, we beat the Nazis too, more than you.
Where should the flagpole have been, right? For victory. Like we also got to Mars first.
I like going around the Earth. Because I look, I'm
I think
outside my depth.
They quit is the fact that they quit.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think is when we won.
Getting into space, I don't even know. Isn't there like a spectrum on what space even is? Like, there's not a line between space and not space, right? If you
Where are you going with this, Neil deGrasse Tyson?
I'm saying if you make it like, let's say 50,000 feet in the air, have you made it to space?
No, that's a halo jump.
Right? Where's space exactly? Do you have to get out? Do you have to get to zero gravity?
You're saying there's no exact
right? What if you get to zero
gravity,
but a few revolutions in, you get pulled back in like space debris, right? Do you have to get to the point where like you would orbit and continuously leave our orbit, right? You just go further and further away, farther and farther away, right? Like, so where exactly is space start?
Well, I mean, there's a well-defined there's some scientists who do that sort of thing, and they wrote a number down.
I don't think that's true.
So in the U.S., space begins at 80.4 kilometers or 50 miles in the air at 264,000 feet. The general international consensus sets a similar limit for the start of space at 380,000 feet. So
what was the other one?
264,000.
See that? No, thank you. At first I was like, "Fuck, am I wrong?" but then it's like, so between 280 and what'd you say, 304, 340,
264,000 and 380,000 feet, and then all the satellites it says are between 525,000 feet up and 6.5 million feet. So a good bit of space.
Is it's not like in the cartoons where like there's a line between Nevada and California. One side space, one side's Earth.
I'm pretty sure what you would use as your determining factor is when you're in low Earth orbit, when you stop falling back and you start orbiting, right?
Right, but things that are in orbit could go around 6 times and then get sucked in, right? There's all kinds of space debris out there, for example, that's getting pulled in all the time. That's why they don't have to worry about it. So all I'm saying is, like, I don't know exactly where space is, but maybe you circumnavigate in zero gravity and that's it. I don't know exactly what it is, but
I think that's what Virgin Galactic is talking about doing, right? They're this really high altitude where they're just on the cusp. They're in that little in-between area to zip from one continent to another.
Yeah, but there's no exact art on it. What I'm saying is space fades in. Like the atmosphere.
It absolutely fades in. It's certainly not like going from in the ocean to in the air, right?
Perfect.
There's an obvious line.
There's a very distinct difference. Yeah, whereas in the
I could see that. Yeah, I get your point somewhat.
You can't just go put one toe in space like you can
the
ocean.
You can though. There's
no.
I guess not.
I'm just gonna dip my toe in space, guys. I'm not going all the way to space. I'm just gonna hang.
They haven't defined 120,000 feet of like gray area, which was kind of what I was getting at. So yeah, I don't know how to define the space winter exactly, but maybe circumnavigate the globe in 0 degree or 0 altitude gravity. Anyway, we're getting lost in the weeds.
I think the space winner is the country that ended up with Tang. Thank you.
That's
Velcro.
True. Do you remember how I'm younger than you guys, but do you remember how excited you got for the Tang commercials when that orangutan was bouncing around up in space?
You and monkeys. No one else got excited by that. Monkey thing with you.
You were the only one on
No, Taylor, none of us were like, Mom, there's a monkey on TV.
Look at him! Look at him! He's drinking the Tang.
You and monkeys is hilarious.
I remember specifically asking my mom at whatever point in the 90s, being like, "You gotta get Tang. You gotta get Tang from the store." And I remember like mixing it up, being like, "God damn, this is what astronauts drink." And maybe I'm right. It seems like a terrible thing for astronauts because if you're in zero gravity, having a bunch of orange powder floating around doesn't seem ideal, right?
I think we mix it inside of a squeeze pouch.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, they probably weren't doing it in their mom's kitchen at the age of 7.
You guys know so much about what astronauts do.
Oh, no, that's where you're wrong. I know they drink Tang and do something scary I have no interest in doing. Yeah,
Same.
I don't even know if I would take a free trip up to space.
I quit. Look,
Taylor,
I quit
what if I
scuba
told
diving.
you that being an astronaut involved working with monkeys?
Well, that's an additional. That's interesting.
All right, Taylor. You and Lieutenant Bimbo here are going to go into low orbit. You're going to go 8 trips around the Earth. And wait, well, I don't even know anything about how to operate this. Don't worry, Bimbo does. You look over at Bimbo and he's just like,
Look,
Houston, I fell asleep during the safety onboarding, and Bimbo's throwing feces around the cabin.
Taylor, we want you
yeah,
to
that's
know
right.
that
When he
even
throws
though-
the feces, that means that your number 1 O2 booster is low. Okay, you're going to want to adjust that.
Taylor, we want to let you know that if anything goes wrong, Bimbo is absolutely in charge.
We're going to ask you to defer to your commanding officer.
That's kind of sad, all those animals we sent up there, because like I'm sure school children back home were like, "Oh, great, they sent a dog up there. I can't wait. Are we going to get to meet him when he comes back?" And they're like, comes back?
Yeah,
What do you mean comes
definitely.
back? He's going to slowly roast to death on the re-entry. That's kind of what happens here. That or run out of oxygen. That's what happened to all those critters. They either ran out of oxygen or they burn up on re-entry.
How many? Well, I guess that's probably not even public info. So how many monkeys and animals, like dogs, did we kill up there?
That's absolutely public info. What everything NASA did is transparent. It's
What
the
about all the ones they
cosmonauts.
smushed in the centrifuge on Earth? We didn't hear about those.
Oh,
That's true.
The stuff the cosmonauts did is very shady. Like we don't actually know like how many people that they're like, oh yeah, this guy's the first one into space, nailed it on the first try, and it's like, did you though?
Yeah.
Did you though? Maybe he's the 8th guy who tried to get to space, or the 9th guy who tried to get to space. He's at least the 2nd, right? Like they sent up a couple of those fucking dudes and tried it out. I don't think so. Rogan's got that whole bit about how like we're gonna have a bunch of like nerds sitting in a fucking control. The smart people are never the ones they send up first. They're down there sitting there turning their knobs and looking at screens. They got some square-jawed, corn-fed guy from the Midwest. They shoot up into fucking space. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just knows enough to turn the knobs.
He is not crucial to the operation.
They got a bunch of him.
Yeah.
A guy named Buzz was not the smartest guy in the operation. I guarantee fucking you. There should be a few about Rome. I think they're pretty pertinent. The fall of the greatest empire of all time. There we were with hot running water, and then we went to the Dark Ages and like rubbing boiled down horse urine in our wounds for 1,000 fucking years. So it's a good idea to look at Rome. If you're going to be voting, I'd like someone who knew the consequences of a failed republic. I'd like someone who knew the consequences of the most powerful power in not just a region, but now a globe failing.
I was only half joking, but yeah, it makes sense, especially as America. I think we're the current reigning empire. I think you could say that. And to sort of know what happened to England, what happened to Rome, how these things get bigger and smaller and help them make better decisions.
Rome just kept overextending itself towards the end of its existence, funding tons of foreign wars,
Based on what I learned from TV, it was a love triangle gone awry.
I'm pretty sure there was some immigration and some infrastructure issues too.
No.
I don't think they had a wall at all.
Huh, I think you're right. I bet they had a ton of walls.
They had the Hadrian's Wall.
They did. They had Hadrian's Wall up in England.
Well, because I've never heard of it, I'm not sure it's true.
It's still there.
It is.
Like that's proof.
Hadrian himself placed every stone.
He did. Stonewall Jackson was one of his first in his command there, if I remember correctly.
I finished Rome, the TV series. You were
Doesn't end.
right. Oh my god! When you said it moved really quickly, I thought the first season moved really quickly. The first season ended in the way that I thought the whole thing would end. Like, what even is season 2? Well, sure enough, season 2 is pretty cool. And man, those last 3 episodes covered 2/3 of the story. Yeah.
It was wild. Yeah, it's a shame that didn't get. If that came out now, I would bet it would be wildly popular. It's shocking to me. You can tell, like, when some sort of global algorithm gets triggered by a subject. Right now, it is Rome. Like whatever that was recently,
TikTok
where someone on TikTok like brought up that topic that I asked my boyfriend how much he talks about Rome, and he answered this, and then it just exponentially grew until like Netflix and Hulu started recommending me Roman-based things. Netflix is like, hey, here's a series we made 2 years ago that's like 6 parts of Roman blah, blah, blah. Okay, why not? It's like there's no way that's a coincidence. It's happening. I guarantee in Hollywood that algorithm, a bell went ding, 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 ding. What's that? It's the Make a Rome movie bell. All right. Who wants to do it? It's being made or written right now. The next Roman-based movie, it'll happen in 3 or 4 years, and it'll be fucking cool. I love that as a historical topic. I love it as movies and TV shows. Yeah, I wish Gladiator had been a whole goddamn universe. You know,
is there another empire as cool as Rome? Like, was Greece anywhere near that cool? Or
yeah, I mean,
Ottoman Empire.
The Romans stole all the Greeks' ideas.
They optimized them.
That's where if you see Caesar Octavian. That's what Caesar Octavian's doing. Like when he's a boy, that his mother's like, "Stop reading all about those old dirty Greeks. They were all boy buggerers anyway. Now, have you had any gash yet?" No, mother. I have plenty of time to get gash.
Ugh, a man of your age should have had 12 slave girls' gashes by now.
That's
like what is?
I'm
what
not
is
exaggerating much.
What's the joke? Like the Greeks invented sex, and then the Romans discovered you could do it with women. Something like that.
There's a lot of that.
And the Greeks actually get like more of that. Like they weren't as gay.
They have the reputation
people
for being...
say. Yeah, that was like an insult. They would like the Spartans, like would make fun of the Athenians being like a bunch of boy-loving buggerers or whatever the words were back then.
Yeah,
still was going on.
Or at least they did in the movies that I've watched.
Not to like what our idea of it is today, where it's like, oh yeah, the Greeks just like totally cool.
I'm sure there's plenty of gay people and like getting down in all kinds of ways. The Romans were just perverse, and all the way up to their leadership. You know, you would see. There's even that scene in Rome where the guy's like, "I've heard that you Romans would have a baboon fuck a woman," and he's like, "Yes, we sometimes will have baboons fuck a woman. I believe it's no more difficult than training the baboon and restraining the woman." And the guy, it's usually reserved as a punishment though, and the man is like, "I would like to see this. I would like to see a baboon fuck a woman." He's like, "Well, steps can be taken, certainly, but the matter at hand is..." It's just like, yeah, sure, dude, we'll get you your baboon fucking like after negotiations. Yeah. Like, come on, let's move along.
Even then, back in those days, I feel like those guys had to have been like, really, the baboon fucking guy. Like, are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to go to the Colosseum?
No, that's what
baboon
they did in the
fucking
Colosseum.
Again.
That's what they did in the Colosseum. They would have baboon fucking in the Colosseum. All right, first
I don't think so.
All right, I love when you say things like this, and I ask you if you want to bet because I know you're wrong, and you refuse to bet, and then Zach looks it up, and then you go, "Huh, baboon fucking in the Colosseum."
All right, Zach, look up baboon fucking in the Colosseum. There's no way.
Are baboons at all native to that area?
And
no,
of course. So let me just say this. One of the flexes that the Roman Empire would do to like keep its people, we're taxing them a lot for this big military we have. It's very expensive because it's an organized military that you feed and like, what do you do for a living? I'm a fucking soldier. I show up to the post and I serve there for, 5 years at a time. You got to and you pay them in gold, right? So to show the people and to pay them off for this, they would bring back from Africa and from all the way to England and Europe, the bears, the lions, the monsters of those lands that they conquered, the elephants, and bring them home as during their triumphs and be like, look how powerful we are. We brought these baboons home to fuck women. Nothing about baboon rape. I'm
Read it, Taylor. Read it out loud.
Let's bet $1,000. There's nothing though about baboon rape. There's also nothing to actually indicate that the reenactment Marshall alludes to was anything but a dude in a bull costume mounting someone in a pacific costume. No rape involved and probably no actual intercourse given the constraints of visibility within the Colosseum. Words from my mouth, basically, is what I. That's
so Google this. We're forced bestiality Colosseum.
You're really
because I'm positive it's true. If that doesn't work, maybe lose the Colosseum and just do Romans, because that was kind of like what. I mean, if the first thing doesn't work, I'm almost positive that they use this as a form of execution. Like they would have a horse rape a woman to death.
You've been taking a bunch of Derek's, dream supplements. Are you sure?
I'm sure.
This isn't something that you had a fever dream about, that you were just excited.
This diet consists of mushrooms and pot.
Yeah, mushrooms.
They definitely did.
That wouldn't even be as entertaining. As just from an entertainment perspective, do you want to see a bunch of the Retiarius fighting the
you have
shield
a variety
guy?
Of things, Taylor. Like you don't want all of look different channels.
Variety is the spice of life.
It was just like television. Like one day you'd have women being executed by rape of donkey or whatever, and then the next day we'll recreate that old what's the myth about the guy who like the eagle comes down and eats his liver every day and it regenerates? Is that Greek or Roman? You would think it's Roman because I know they recreated it.
Yeah, I think
they trained
Romans
the bird to come down and
they did rip a lot of their stuff from the Greeks. Not even
how do you
inventing
train a
their
bird to eat a man's liver. That's
I don't think they did that.
I bet they did that too.
No, because yes. Yes.
Zach, also fact check that at one point birds were trained to eat men's liver as to recreate I can't remember if it's Greek or Roman, but the mythological god, nonsense, theological myth of that occurring.
Because there's no way the bird's going to eat whatever's in front of it. As soon as it's done with the liver, it's going to be eating your kidneys or whatever else the dead guy has.
We're not talking about what it does later. We're talking about for the show of it all. Like, what does it come down to do? And I say they trained a bird to eat a man's liver on command.
If it was eating liver on command, does it definitely?
Thank you. Yeah, it was Prometheus' punishment for giving fire to man. They did that to him.
Which big ups to Prometheus.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that fire, man.
Fire
Prometheus was punished by Zeus. Yeah, but did the Romans recreate that? In real life in the Colosseum? And also, where are we on this animal rape as punishment? Because I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
I think you're wrong, and I think we should bet.
Animal rape is fake.
Ooh,
I've seen
that's been Snopes.
I've seen multiple sources. They with the part.
What sources? What websites are you on?
Motherless, Pornhub, lots of sources.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a gentleman on eFucked, and he wouldn't steer me the wrong direction.
No, I mean like watch. I feel like I've watched not just the Rome TV show, but I feel like I've watched historical.
There were no cameras back then, Kyle.
Yeah, of course we don't have cameras, but
there's a reenactment you're watching.
I'm not talking about videos I've watched. They were all dressed in togas and shit, man. I'm telling you.
Then at the end, some lady came in, got naked, and some guy fucked her.
This is like
he was a plumber or something.
If I have truly been misled, which I am not admitting until I've done thorough research after the show,
admit it.
I'm sure that I've watched YouTube videos that were talking about ancient Rome was more perverse than you could imagine. Emperor Commodus would order women to be raped by donkeys for his.
Up next, was Hitler an alien?
No, not those kind of videos.
The Nazis' secret occult pact with the devil.
I don't watch those anymore.
They got you too many times where you're like, wait a minute.
No.
They just didn't have enough footage to make another Nazi war documentary, so now they're doing stills and smash cuts of demon and Beelzebub heads. I'm
standing by this forced animal rape by the Romans as punishment and/or execution. Or perhaps as a party favor. I will get to the bottom of it. Zach is clearly in on some sort of lie to make me look silly. And I'll get to the bottom of that too. I'll root out any conspirators, Taylor. And do nothing about it.
Then do nothing about it. Well, either way, Zach, Operation Kyle Fool is complete.
One of the times that I remember I've talked about it before, but my teacher just went on and on about the Spartans, and it was this inspiring moment in my childhood education where I thought of him as my favorite teacher, and it turns out everything he taught me was like sort of lies and not.
What did he teach you?
Well, it was the Spartan stuff about the way their lives went and
yeah.
stuff, and it turned out a lot of that wasn't exactly true, or at least I see sources now that suggest that it was not.
Yeah.
So I don't
like
know.
the like over the top like pederasty stuff.
Yeah, the over the top like militarized society and like the agoge, we're 7 years old, you're drug away, and you're in the army till you're 45 or whatever. Like all that crazy, and the craziness of the training. That he was very specific about that. Anyway, YouTube has led me to believe that much of that was exaggerated or just outright lies. Spartan propaganda, it turned out.
It could be. I mean, they
lived on to the 20th century.
They would definitely want their enemies to believe that they were like insane warrior people, even if it was kind of a bit of an exaggeration. They were warrior oriented.
Kyle, what's the show you recommended for me? Rome?
Yeah, Rome.
Yes.
Rome. Okay. So in Rome, there's a character. His name's Octavius, and he's really smart. It's kind of his whole thing. He's the smartest guy in every room. Even when he's like a young teenager, he's smarter than the adults. And they're teaching him to sword fight so that he can be a man. And he's not really taking to it, but the guy teaching him polio is really cool, and he's like patient with him. And he's like, no, you'll get it. You just need to practice more. What he's saying is that you do this more, you'll get stronger and in shape and improve at it. And this is what he said. At best, all I could ever be is a middling sword fighter. And it's better not to be a sword fighter than a middling sword fighter.
Yeah.
And I was like,
graveyards are full of middling sword fighters.
Did he say that too? I missed that part. And I don't know, somehow that it's better to be not a fighter than a middling one. I'm like, oh, that's some fucking wisdom right there. He's onto something.
That's true.
Yeah, that's Caesar Octavius. That he was a very smart guy. He spent his childhood reading about the stuff the Greeks had written, and just I loved his character. Even later on when they recast him with what's his name, I can't think of that actor's name. I don't know if you watched it all, right? All of it?
Not all of it, but I have made it to the next actor.
You can spoil it.
Okay.
It's ancient Rome.
Yeah, it's Roman history. I was just wondering if he'd seen that actor yet when that they recast him. I think it's really good. It's another one of those things like Deadwood that also got canceled because they just came out a little bit before the golden age of TV, or at least before we were ready for what that was. Because those are just really well produced, great stories, and they're historical dramas too, which I like. I like when you take something that happened, make it a little bit fancier. Tell me about a whore who existed back then too. She's there. She's running around getting dick. Add her. Like sauce up the story, make it a little better for me. Gladiator is a great example of that, right? Like those are real Romans and real shit that happened mostly. Commodus was really a Roman emperor. All that happened, but you beef it up and make it amazing. That's what Ridley Scott's doing again. I don't goddamn dog. Let me shut the dog up.
Ridley Scott is.
Yeah, I don't know my history that well, so I just assume it's all true. But I am enjoying the show. It's a blast. The first season, Kyle told me that the show ends a little early, so they have to rush and sort of put a bow on the storyline. What happens at the first season ends how I expected the whole storyline to end. I'm like, where are they even going from here? And now I'm learning. So.
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch. Like I almost don't want to rewatch that show because it has so much potential. Yeah, I saw it many years ago, and I remember it being sick, like awesome. But they just sprint to the finish. Like you're like mad as it's going because you're like, oh no, you're not going to flesh that out. It's just gonna. Oh, the next scene
season was a sprint.
The first season is fast, and then the second season is like, oh, between scenes 9 years passed. Like that's like literally shit like that. It's absurd. So you're watching like, God, I wish they could have fleshed that out more with whatever that main actor is. The really dark haired guy. I don't know what his name is, but he's great.
Like in the first season, Caesar travels back to Rome. Okay, big spoiler. You might be surprised. Caesar goes to Rome. And but But like, I was like, if this was Game of Thrones, they would take 1 or 2 years to sort of define the landscape, the players, the travel from here to there, the war with the Gauls and the people in his army. They would be building that up. Here, by like episode 3 or so, he's defeated an entire enemy race, and now he's home again.
He's conquered all of the Germanic and Celtic peoples. Like, that's the part you'd love to see, right? Just nothing but war and big battle scenes. Yeah. But you could tell they didn't have money for that. They didn't have any money for any of the battle scenes.
Oh, you're right. Sometimes I forget about like the why.
So expensive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so expensive to do a battle scene because you don't want to do a shitty one. You'd rather do something sort of like
they did a shitty one.
A big battle that happened.
I forget which battle scene it was, but like there's basically like foggy photos where there's a guy like, and another guy, and then like whatever, tall dude won, and you're like, you just robbed me of an entire war.
Now imagine a war.
Close your eyes with us.
It's incredible. Huge feats of strength and heroism are happening all around you as the camera pans through the turmoil. Okay, are you going to show us any of this? Here's the blurry screen. Sword shield. Yeah, it sucks when they do that. That's what early Game of Thrones was like, too, though. If you remember the Whispering Woods, we didn't see shit. That's a huge battle where Jaime Lannister cuts down some of the best swordsmen in the North by himself. We didn't see any of that shit. We saw a little part where they hit him in the head and they catch him at the end. And then the battle where the big naval battle where they're at King's Landing, they cut to Tyrion's face and show him react to the shit that's happening. So they didn't have the money there. That shit's so expensive when you get into that CGI.
Yeah. They blew all their money on the wildfire explosion.
So I was going to say before my dog went crazy, Ridley Scott, who made Gladiator, has now made Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon. It's like 3.5, 4 hours long or something. And it'll be on, I'm sure they'll put it in theaters, but then it'll be on Apple TV sometime thereafter. The trailer looks awesome. Just huge, epic scale, Napoleonic era battles in Egypt, Russia, the entire, and there's this, the trailer I saw, he's like, I have conquered the world. I went to the frozen north of Russia. And they cut to a scene of him in Russia, like shooting cannons on people on the ice. To the plains of the west, to the sands of the far. And it's great because Joaquin Phoenix is doing kind of a French accent, and he's good at that. I'm super hyped for that movie.
That sounds sweet.
I love those I love that he's not making any more alien shit. Ridley Scott's done enough of that.
And what else has he done that I might know? I've seen
Gladiator, Black. I think he did Black Hawk Down. And I'm spacing out on some of the other stuff. He did
those
Alien.
Two are good enough. Those are excellent movies. I love those movies.
Alien, and I think he did Prometheus and the other Alien sequel.
Prometheus was kind of
yeah. He's real into the backstory of the aliens, and I feel and I don't.
And
care.
I'm not. Yeah,
that should be like left a mystery, but that's neither here nor there. But I am really pumped for that Joaquin Phoenix movie. I like him a lot. I think next month. I think November. Pretty sure.
I haven't seen a movie in theaters in years, and so maybe I'll make that one that I see. I've thought on multiple occasions over the past couple of years, like I want to go see a movie. Like that sounds like fun, and then I Google what movies are on, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna force myself to go to the movies.